Welcome back again to Video Vault 5, presented by 650 Gold. I'm Leon Bibb, along with Tom Livingston.
We've just shown you several local grand openings, and now we're going to show you a grand closing that really kicked up a lot of dust.
Of the Eyewitness News team, live on top of the Stouffer's Inn on the Square roof, high above Public Square, where in a few moments from now, a piece of Cleveland's past will go up in a cloud of dust. We're talking, of course, about the Cuyahoga and Williamson buildings, a Cleveland landmark throughout the 20th century, which in just a couple of minutes will be imploded. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
1, 5.
And Doug Loiseau is coming over to us.
He's going to join us in a second, Eileen. I try to get him over here. They're frantically covering cameras for this dust cloud that's about to engulf us.
When it was all over, relief and rubble. Cleanup started almost immediately. Wash down of the streets inch deep in dust, removal of scaffolding protecting the surrounding buildings. It did its job well. Only one window broken in the May Company. The crowd went home, leaving its mark, and there was quiet. Time to recall the big blast. Time to think about what was destroyed and what will take its place. A new Cleveland landmark, the Sohio Tower.
When the buildings came tumbling down, cameraman Brian Archer and me were just 300 feet away at ground level. That was our first mistake. The man that pressed the final button was taking congratulations when the dark cloud rolled in and he took off. All I could think of was all those horrible Japanese monster movies where the blob ate everybody. For a good 30 seconds, we couldn't see our own hands. I was frightened because it was difficult to breathe, and I was choking. Some people panicked. They tried to outrun the choking smoke. Apparently, no one was injured. It was sort of like a dangerous romance. Everyone loved it.
I loved it. I loved it. I'm glad I didn't miss it.
Were you frightened when you saw that cloud come?
I just ran towards the light.
What light?
Over here on Ontario down there, I just ran towards it, and I guess, I don't know, see my glasses and everything.
Years from now, grandfathers and grandmothers will tell their grandchildren how it was way back in '82 when these buildings came down and got us all messed up.
Well, as you saw, the old building came straight down, but then all of that dust went wide, far and wide.
I was in the chopper that day. I was shooting from Chopper 5, and I remember how downtown looked as it was engulfed in this cloud of dust. And it's just amazing because it just, the buildings disappeared.
Yeah. I was doing the weekend news over at Channel 3, and we had that on our 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news. But Dale Kirk, who is the producer of this show right here, was working at Channel 3 with me as well. And he says he remembers that when the building came down at Public Square, he felt the rumble 3 blocks away in the Channel 3 building. He thought the TV building was coming down, really.
And you may recall this about the buildings. The Cuyahoga and Williamson buildings were beautiful buildings.
But City Council had to do some political stepping to declare them a blighted area to pave way for the new BP building, or the Sohio building as it was called.
And at the time, there was this unwritten rule, or was an ordinance. I tried to research it when I wrote it for the web, that no building could be taller than the terminal tower. So that's why that building is the shape it is. It is not as tall, but it's more wide.
It got broad shoulders.
That's right. And then when Key Tower came along, they just decided, let's just build it tall.
And they went all the way.
That's right.
Okay. Well, as I'm sure you know, the Dr. Oz show is broadcast daily here on News Channel 5. But decades before Dr. Oz, there was another doctor giving medical advice on this station. In fact, he holds an amazing distinction. When he debuted on the TV5 airwaves back in 1975, Dr. Ted Castell became the nation's first TV news doctor.
Whether he was in the studio taking healthcare calls, live from his office at Lutheran Hospital, or doing a weekly segment live from his home on Wednesday evenings, Dr. Ted was simply good TV.
This is one of those foods, and I prepared a bunch more for you over here. If you'll come to my marketplace with me, I'll show you a lot of foods with high fiber content. Here is kale, and here are Brussels sprouts, and aren't those delicious looking? And here are collard greens and cauliflower and spinach and turnips and cabbage and bran, flakes and all bran, fruit, apples, oranges, and a couple of bananas for those two monkeys you've got down there, Shanley and Webster. If in too much sun, whether it be from the natural sun or from a sun lamp or even from the lamps of a sun tanning parlor, are liable to cause damage to these structures, increase your chance of having cancer of the skin, also cause excessive wrinkling and early aging of the skin. And when you're 40 years old, you're liable to look like you're 60 years old.
Ready for a couple of questions,
Sure.
Dr. Ted? Okay, here's the first one.
I quit smoking 2 months ago, and I noticed I have a problem with my digestion and swelling of the stomach. Is that normal?
I don't think there's any relationship. When one quits smoking, a lot of things happen. After all, smoking is an addiction. You may notice a lot of different things going on in your body, but congratulations and hang in there.
Well, Dr. Ted, he was so much fun to work with. He joked that he would make millions of house calls by visiting people in their homes.
And sent no bill in the mailbox.
Right. That's a good thing, right?
That's a good thing.
He was such a stickler for getting the information correct. We would do live shots with him on Wednesday nights. We'd take the live truck out to his house, but we jokingly called it Stump the Doctor Night because the producer wouldn't come up with the idea what they wanted him to talk about till about 6:30 or 7. We'd pull up at the live truck at 10:30, and Dr. Ted had been on the phone with people checking the books. This was before the internet, so he had to get all his information because he wanted to make sure he was correct. He was good TV because he kept it simple.
And he knew his stuff. I understand other television stations could have had Dr. Ted.
That's correct. The Academy of Medicine pitched Dr. Ted to all the stations in town, and Channel 5 just jumped on it. The other stations weren't interested.
Good for Dr. Ted.
And good for Channel 5.
And that's that. Well, when we come back, we'll end this show with one of Channel 5's most popular features from the 70s and 80s.
And be sure to check out all of my vintage clips on the Video Vault page at newsnet5.com. We'll be right back.
See dozens of vintage clips from decades of News Channel 5 programming. Go to newsnet5.com/Cleveland Video Vault 5. Presented by 650 Gold.